Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland. And this week, I'm continuing my trek through all of Stanley Kubrick's filmography, getting into his 3-hour period drama, Barry Lyndon. And that leaves Barry Lyndon, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, and Eyes Wide Shut left. So we're almost through Kubrick, and this is one of his probably least talked about of his films, especially from like once you get up to like Lolita and Doctor Strangelove and on, this seems to be the one that's kind of not talked about as much, which is a shame because it is an impressive film. But we'll get to that because on this show, we have 3 segments. We have Coming Attractions, where we talk about the film that I'm most excited about coming out this week. And then we get to the feature film, Barry Lyndon this week. And we talk about some recommendations, which I have a few. So thinking about these films that we have going on now, I want to talk about coming attractions for the 20th of August. And there's some interesting films coming out with Reminiscence coming out with Hugh Jackman in it, the Paw Patrol movie, The Protege with Maggie Q and Michael Keaton, Samuel L. Jackson, directed by Martin Campbell, and Annette's getting its Amazon Prime release. But honestly, the film that seems to be grabbing my attention the most is The Night House. And this is from director David Bruckner, which I just found out he directed The Ritual, which literally was just recommended to me by my good friend Haley. And I'm very interested to see this film. And Rebecca Hall is a really talented actress. And the trailers for this film are really unnerving. And it's such an interesting idea of this like reflected house, this like mirror dimension, and who's actually there. And there's some really frightening imagery in this trailer that got me pretty good. So I'm pretty excited about it. So I'm interested to see how The Night House turns out. I'm hoping that it's nice quality horror film and not just a cool trailer and then disappointed by a bunch of terrible tropes. But we'll see. But that's what I'm definitely most excited about coming out on August 20th. But shifting gears into our feature of the week is Barry Lyndon. And this is based off of a novel, which honestly, it turns out that a lot of Kubrick films are based off of, and this of writings of others, and he just kind of does his own thing with them. And this is, like I said, a 3-hour period drama about an Irishman named Redmond Barry, who goes through this like Candide, Forrest Gump kind of incredible journey throughout life. Obviously, not as pop culture as Forrest Gump. And Redmond is not an idiot like Candide, but you know, it's that same basic idea that takes him all over the place through Ireland, through England, into France, to Prussia, all through Europe, and takes him on a journey from being, you know, a little bit of an entitled young man to a very rich and self-absorbed and gluttonous type man in a lot of different ways, and then winding up with nothing. And it's such a crazy cautionary tale over the course of these hours. But Kubrick brings such a unique vision to this film. He used a lot of inspirations, like actual paintings for the backgrounds, and this is strikingly beautiful. There's 2 main technical things that I want to talk about in this film. And you have the like painting-esque backgrounds that are so striking and beautiful and impressive. This is a gorgeous film. All the costumes, the production design, everything is off the charts. And then you have the cinematography with the lighting. There's different scenes that are all naturally lit. There's this one scene using just the stairs, no direct dialogue going on, just the staring back and forth of characters all by candlelight is so impressive and impactful. And you just sit there in awe of what Kubrick's able to do from a technical perspective with this film. And it's gorgeous. It's so well made. And from start to finish, I'm just in awe of the camera work, the framing, everything is pitch perfect. And then you have the acting. And it took me a while. This is probably the fourth, fifth time I've watched Barry Lyndon. It took me a lot of time to really let Ryan O'Neal grow on me, but I'm starting to realize what he does bring to this role is impressive. It's a lot more subtle, it's a lot more intense, it's a lot more raw and physical in terms of what he does in this film. And what he's able to accomplish is to make a naive and self-absorbed young man into someone who is able to play through so many different things. And also there's rage. There's one particular scene where I legitimately thought he was going to beat somebody's head in, and you're just like, wow, I was not expecting that from Ryan O'Neal. And then everybody else in this film, it's so interesting because you have Marissa Berenson, who plays Lady Lyndon, who Redmond winds up marrying and becoming Barry Lyndon. And she is so beautiful and has such a great presence in this film. You have Patrick McGee, who is from A Clockwork Orange, who plays the journalist that winds up having his wife raped and then also coming back after Alex towards the end of the film. And he plays such an interesting and powerful and unique role. You have a few other actors that have popped up in a few Kubrick films, like Leonard Rossiter, who is this Captain John Quinn at the beginning of the film, who, boy, can he dance. And they say white people don't have culture. And he does it like he is committed to this performance, and he's just a smug British captain. And then you have Philip Stone, who has a very small role as a lawyer, who is Grady from The Shining. And you just have these like small character parts that these actors keep popping up in Kubrick films, and they do such a great job. And overall, the cast is not big or bold, but it's all very fitting and works really well for the film. And I think that's the most important thing, because I think what Kubrick brings to the table is something where it's like nobody's bigger than his vision. There's no like trying to like be showboating as an actor in his films, because he is the star of his films and everybody else is doing their job. And everybody does their job so well in this film. You have all this classical music, John Alcott's cinematography. It's all so impressive. And then it takes you on this journey that Redmond Barry goes on throughout his life. He starts off the beginning totally smitten with his cousin. And she gives him some ribbon, some intimacies. But she's supposed to be betrothed to John Quinn, who does an impressive dance to get her attention. And they have a duel. And duels become very important in this film as they open and close it. And this duel is all fabrication. They trick Barry and Redmond Barry into thinking that he won this duel. As you find out later, he did not. And then he's off on the run. He gets his stuff stolen by a father-son combo. He gets enrolled in the military, and his mentor gets killed. And they share a very tender kiss as he's dying. This is a very odd film to watch in 2021 because the sensibilities are very much of that time in so many ways, and it's so reflective of the time period it's supposed to be. But some of these things are just like, you don't expect that kind of stuff. Like it's like two men just sharing one last kiss before one passes away. And you're just like, okay. And the film just accepts it. You have Barry doing like this bare knuckle fight in the middle of a bunch of like brutish men. And that's an impressively shot film sequence. And then like he gets away and steals like a captain's outfit or something and like goes off. And then the Prussians catch him. And then he's in the Prussian army and he works his way up through there. And it's just this thing where, and then he gets paired with Patrick McGee's character, Chauvelet, and they're doing all this like cheating at poker and stuff like that together. It's such an interesting dynamic. This first half of the film is this journey. And then Redmond like goats an old man into like having a heart attack and dying, and then marries his wife, adopts his son, and the whole second half of this film is that lifestyle. And Redmond, now Barry Lyndon, is such a despicable guy who's like sleeping around with his nanny and all these other women while he has an absolutely gorgeous wife at home, but it's never enough. He becomes so obsessed with everything and taking advantage of everything. And Redmond becomes very hard to like as Barry Lyndon. And he has this dynamic with his adopted son, and then he has his own son. And his adopted son doesn't like his stepfather and doesn't appreciate how he's cheating on his mother. And also, he has a strange relationship with his mother. There's some strange feelings going on there. And then it all comes to a head. And like I mentioned before, there's a scene where it's like it looks like Ryan O'Neal's going to beat a man's head in. Yeah, that's a stepson. And that scene is so visceral, and it's so shocking to see in a Kubrick film because everything seems so calculated. This was raw and aggressive, and Ryan O'Neal sells it. And tragedy strikes with what happens to the son that he has with Lady Lyndon, and it all leads up to this duel with his son, and everything comes back for Barry Lyndon in this film. And it's such an intriguing journey, this character study of this man. His ideals and his ideals and his values are all warped along the way, and where he winds up, I don't think is where he wanted to be. And it's such an interesting film from start to finish, and it's engrossingly beautiful. It's a great character study, such strong performances. The technical aspects are off the charts, and it's such a crazy, sprawling tale. This is an epic in many ways, and I'm really impressed by this film. The more and more I watch it, the more and more I'm impressed. And I'm glad that I got to do this on the movie club with Development Hell podcast with the five of us talking about this, our first film. This was pretty cool to rewatch it again and really get to think about how I felt about it. And it challenges you in terms of what's right. There's a morality, there's a gray perspective on this. And it really makes you question, do you relate to Redmond? Do you feel bad for Redmond when he's missing a leg and basically has nothing left? Do you feel bad for Redmond Barry? And that's a big question that this film poses by the end. And I think it's an impressive film, takes you on a journey, and really strong performances. And in the end, I definitely think this is an unsung entry into Kubrick's filmography that I really hope more people go check out. But those are my thoughts on Barry Lyndon. So you should go check it out and comment. Let me know what you think. But we have one last segment here on Welcome to the Wasteland, and it's time to talk about my recommendations. And I have 2 lottery tickets, and this is a new film that has come out, this Romanian film about these 3 fools who are trying to find their winning lottery ticket that was stolen from them. And it's a dry-witted comedy that's like an hour and 25 minutes or so. It's so engrossing and intriguing. And it, in similar ways to like The Big Lebowski, plays on that detective type story, that PI thing. And they're just so silly and idiotic and foolish that along the way you get all these details, and these are things that they're trying to process, and you just enjoy the journey that these 3 men go on. And you'll get some very dry laughs. And if that's your sense of humor, this will really nail it for you. It definitely did for me. So I rented this on VOD from Amazon Prime. So if you're interested in seeing a strange, quirky film, go check this one out on Amazon right now for rental. The next film I'm going to talk about is a movie that I checked off my watch list, and it was Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. So I'm okay with the first one. I enjoy the music. Obviously, it's ABBA. But the thing is, I felt like the narrative was just a forced way to figure out how to get as many ABBA songs in here as possible. The second film takes a parallel story of Amanda Seyfried's character trying to reopen the hotel that her mother ran for years after she passes away. So barely any Streep in this one. Like dream sequence, fantasy sequence. At least get her for a little bit. And then you show her when she's younger, played by Lily James, who kills it. She's so fantastic. And you see her go on this journey, what led her to this Greek town, and with her three loves that she fooled around with. And you have these parallel stories. And they choose music that's less popular songs, but fit better for the story. And the narrative is interesting with these two ideas. And they have Les Pierce Brosnan singing, which is for the best. And one particular song, their rendition of Fernando in this film is the best part of either of the Mamma Mia films. And of course, they have Dancing Queen and Mamma Mia. And along with that, a fun and interesting story with some great performances and charming performances, some overall pretty strong singing, because, you know, you kind of steer away from those who can't really do it as much. But, and like Waterloo's a ball in this as well. There's great songs, fun characters, and a pretty engaging story. So I was pretty shocked because, like, I would maybe give Mamma Mia a C. This is like a strong B. Maybe B+. I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And my last recommendation is from my own collection, something that I rewatched, and it's The Truman Show. And it's so interesting that I rewatched this because Free Guy has a lot of Truman Show in it. And it's such a beautiful film. Jim Carrey gives arguably his best performance as Truman Burbank. And the cast is top notch. I love Noah Emmerich in this film. And you have Laura Linney, who is really doing a lot in this film and doing plenty of heavy lifting, which I'm really, really impressed by what she's able to do in this film. And of course, Christoph himself, Ed Harris, who kills it. But nobody kills it better than Jim Carrey in this film. And Peter Weir captures such a beautiful feel to this film. And there's a magic about it. There's a sensibility about it with the music from composer Burkhard von Dolwitz. And there's just something special about this film. The cinematography is crisp from Peter Bezoy. And Peter Weir is such a fantastic director and never gets enough credit. And this film is existential, makes you think about so many different things, but it's a mystery and it's weird. It's science fiction. Well, I don't know if you quite characterize it that, but there's so much going on here and such an amazing ending. And good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And it's just so perfect. Everything's pitch perfect about this film. There's something special about it. This is a special film. So if you never treated yourself to The Truman Show, go check it out. But those are all my recommendations. And we talked about Barry Lyndon. We talked about hoping that The Night House is a strong new horror film. Recommended to you 2 lottery tickets. Recommended you Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, and The Truman Show. So plenty of great things to check out. So hopefully you do. And hopefully you keep tuning in every week for Welcome to the Wasteland. And next week, I'll be looking at The Shining, my favorite horror film of all time. So I'm very excited about it. But I appreciate all of you. And I want to thank all of you for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.